Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to continue to be your daily advocate. If you're new here or you're not subscribed for any reason, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. Thank you to all of you who have been watching and following me for so long. It truly means a lot, and I'm glad that I can be this person.
Now that we know that Ripple will be allowed in court to argue that it did not receive fair notice from the government, the SEC specifically, on whether or not XRP would be representative of an investment contract, the way that Ripple was going to market with it. Now that we know that Ripple will be allowed to make that argument, what happens next? Well, I'm going to share with you in this video the latest from attorney John Deaton and also some stuff from attorney Jeremy Hogan. And frankly, things are not looking so good for the SEC at this point. Also got a quick update from today, and the SEC wanted yet another extension. Now, don't worry, this one's actually not that bad. It's not very long, but I'm going to share with you the specifics because it still kind of grinds my gears. But before going any further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I'm not offering legal or financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. I'm going to start with this piece. It's a brand new piece today from Finance Feeds titled XRP Lawsuit. Court states its terms decide with Ripple on fair notice. And there's just a handful of parts that I found particularly interesting that I want to share. I don't want to go through this whole thing. But there's a quote from attorney Jeremy Hogan within this article that reads as follows. If the fair notice defense survives and Ripple wins, the SEC will have an uphill battle winning any lawsuits they bring. And so just pause to note, Ripple still has to make their case. They still have to successfully make their case in court that they did not have fair notice from the SEC. That, again, the way they were going to market with XRP would actually be problematic. So they still have to prove that. At this point, all we know is that this fair notice defense, the SEC, they motioned to strike this defense down, and the judge wasn't buying the argument. So Ripple will be allowed to argue this, but things could get really bad for the SEC, regardless of what happens in this case. Like, even if Ripple loses initially on the fair notice defense, say that horrible outcome actually occurred, it's not the end of things, and actually it could get even worse. Check out this quote from attorney Jeremy Hogan explaining. Even if Ripple loses the fair notice defense, they can appeal the ruling, and if an appellate court determines Judge Torres was wrong, and Ripple did not have fair notice, then the SEC is really in trouble because that ruling is binding on every crypto lawsuit that comes along. So that's the quote. So what he's saying is, even if Ripple loses, if it goes to a court above, he said cited here appellate court, and then if Ripple actually wins on that front, then the SEC is seriously in trouble. They will be cut down to size. They will lose a ton of power because this would set precedent. Because if Ripple did not receive fair notice, then what crypto project did receive fair notice? Well, presumably none of them. Are either 100% none or very close to it. Well, that would be a really big problem for the SEC. And the piece reads as follows. The fair notice defense did survive, and now the SEC has really big problems, he said, adding, the order is so good that Ripple won not once, but twice, as he pointed to a footnote on the court's order. And I do love this, and this is fun because the SEC, and it's really bothered me that they've cited like 75 previous enforcement actions saying, hey, this should have provided sufficient fair notice to Ripple that what they were doing was wrong. But of course, half of them had to do with ICOs. There was no ICO in the case of Ripple with XRP, and the others didn't even involve cryptocurrency, just firms that were somehow related to blockchain companies. So none of them applied. To this point, Ripple was the only one that had been sued by the SEC where there was no ICO, up to this point in time. So to take a look at this. On that footnote, Judge Torres dismissed the SEC's request to consider the 75 previous enforcement actions in crypto-related lawsuits as fair notice. Here's a quote. To the extent that the SEC urges the court to adopt this characterization of these enforcement actions, the court rejects such a suggestion because the report's analysis and conclusions with respect to these actions are not proper subjects for judicial notice. And moreover, to the extent that the SEC requests that the court parse each of these filings to determine the underlying facts and legal basis for the enforcement actions and draw conclusions that they are similar to the enforcement action against Ripple, the court declines to do so. I just love that. It's like, no, we aren't going to do that. Bye, Felicia. That's how I read it effectively. Now, also, one final thing to cite in this article, and then I want to move on, but we're going to kind of circle back to this. One of the arguments that the SEC is making is that the price action of XRP occurs based on developments specifically with Ripple, which is just completely outrageous. Especially, I'll tell you what, for somebody like me that's been following Ripple and developments surrounding XRP closely for over 4 years, I'm aware of pretty much every development that's occurred, and about 0% of the time is there an announcement and the price of XRP moves up as a result of that. About 0% of the time. It's a completely bogus argument. And in this article, they note that Jeremy Hogan also cited historically XRP price action moves thanks to Bitcoin primarily. And we're going to circle back around to this topic because it came up again today. I'll circle back around. I wanted this in a particular order for a particular reason, but let's stay on the topic of what's going to happen next. Well, we got some additional steps here. Actually, I wanted to highlight this first. This is from a comment from Eleanor Tarrant, who is a journalist with Fox Business Network, and she made this tweet on reaching out to Ripple and the SEC after the judge's ruling having to do with fair notice came down. She wrote the following: I always make a point of reaching out to both the SEC and Ripple for comment when any news breaks in the case. In response to my email from Friday, I received a "we decline to comment" from the SEC on the decision to deny their motion to strike Ripple's fair notice fence. Yeah, are you surprised that they're a little bit, lips a little bit buttoned up right there? I'm not particularly surprised. You know that they have to be very concerned about this. Now, John Deaton responded to that and wrote, maybe a comment like, "we respect the court's decision" would be appropriate. Unless, of course, it doesn't. Maybe they don't. I don't know, they're a bunch of asshats, that wouldn't surprise me. Now, as far as next steps, take a look at this. There was an individual within the community named Tony who tagged attorney John Deaton and wrote the following: Sir John, a question. So 14 days after discovery, there is supposed to be this 1-hour powwow with the SEC to talk of potential settlement. I am guessing the talk already happened prior to the Torres ruling. Can you shed any light? Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, this is a requirement of the court that there has to be talks. It might be, I think it was with Judge Netburn in this case, I could be mistaken, but, well, if not her, then Torres, obviously. But I think it's with Judge Netburn, who'd be kind of mediating this, and we're going to see if there's any opportunity, once all the discovery work is settled, to see if there's any opportunity to settle rather than going to trial. And of course, as you may well know at this point, I've mentioned it a few times, 95% of cases that the SEC bring end up being settled. So we're going to hope that this SEC versus Ripple case falls into that category. I kind of hope that's what ends up happening here. But so anyway, this individual, Tony, wanted to know, okay, do you think this has happened yet? And John Deaton responded with the following: I don't believe the below mediation has taken place. Now that the motion to strike has been denied, the SEC has 30 days to answer Ripple's pending requests for admissions. Also, we're waiting on Judge Netburn to rule on the emails and Estabrook notes. So in the emails, what he's talking about there is the SEC asking the judge to reconsider the 63 emails associated with the development effectively and communication leading up to Bill Hemmon's Ethereum free pass speech, those emails that are associated. That's what's being cited there. So that is a big deal. So we're waiting to see what the judge has to say on that. Presumably she's not going to change her mind, but you never know for sure. And then somebody named Scott wrote to John Deaton here and said, John, do you think we are definitely looking at a win for Ripple? Settlement, or is there still a chance of defeat? And here's what attorney John Deaton had to say in response to that. I think the SEC lawyers had a chance of winning a very focused prosecution. If they charged Ripple, and only Ripple, with specific sales of XRP on specific dates between 2013 through 2018, they could have won. But instead, if they pursue the token itself is a security, they lose. So John feels very confident, and I do too, because look, I've been following the facts and circumstances surrounding this case just like everybody else in our community, like you that's interested in this stuff. It doesn't look good for the SEC. It legitimately does not look good for them. So yeah, sometimes you get bad rulings anyway, and we could have a really sad day in the future if things don't go well, but I don't think that that's what's most probable. That would be my guess here. And then there was this. Somebody named Crypto Hodler 999 wrote to John Deaton and said, great news. John, do you have an idea when Judge could rule on the emails? So referencing the 63 emails associated with the Billy Boy Hinman Ethereum free pass speech, and John wrote the following. I'm surprised it hasn't come down already. I assume this week. Imagine being a judge and you know your opinion will be immediately scrutinized by thousands of people around the world and likely appealed no matter what you decide. I'm sure Judge Knepper is making it bulletproof. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'd be very particular with the way that she's approaching this. And then there was this. Here's a headline from you today. SEC wants to gain more time in Ripple case. So you see that headline, like, okay, what the hell are these damn asshats doing now? Well, it's actually not that big a deal, but attorney James Filan, member of the XRP community, shared the document that was referenced in that article. I don't really feel the need to read the actual article, but here's what James Filan wrote. The SEC has filed a motion for extension of time until March 18th, 2022, to respond to Ripple's motion to strike the supplemental expert report. Ripple will then file its reply to the SEC by March 24th, 2022. It doesn't, and then he continues, it doesn't make strategic sense for Ripple to object to a 2-day extension. Because Ripple won the motion to strike the fair notice offense, the SEC already has 30 days to respond to the 776 requests for admissions. 2 extra days for this is unimportant. Ripple wisely is picking its battles. And so Ripple didn't contest this, and really, that's why I said at the outset of the video, not that big a deal. It's an extra 2 days, not gonna... Well, it's another 2 days, right? At this point, doesn't really matter. And then James highlighted here, the SEC's motion for extension of time has been granted. So they did get the extra 2 days. And so what is this having to do with? Well, now we're going to circle back to a topic that I mentioned just several minutes ago in this video. The idea of Bitcoin leading the price of XRP, which is provably the case. It just is. Well, I made a video the other day where I highlighted something that was put together by an individual named Dr. Albert Metz. Dr. Albert Metz was paid $600 an hour by the SEC to create a 100-plus page report that, and the purpose of the report was to prove that Ripple was manipulating the price of XRP with their announcements. So this is basically citing, just as you would expect with an equity, stock, that the price that you'd see, whether you're talking about Tesla or Apple, whatever it is, it's associated with the business developments from the company, right? And so they paid this guy, and I can only imagine how long it took him to do this, 100-plus page report. They paid him $600 an hour, and he came up with this BS report that allegedly proves that XRP price action occurs as a result of developments surrounding Ripple. Completely bogus and nonsensical. So I made a whole video about that. I'm not going to rehash everything in it, but I will mention, especially for those of you that missed it, friendly reminder, this guy stated that if not for Ripple, the price of XRP would barely ever go above 2 cents. He actually argued that. So this report, it came out, I believe it was, I'm pulling from memory, but I think it was October of last year. And then there were some individuals that came out and analyzed this, and they said, you've got some flawed methodology here, and then they went on to cite reasons why. And then at the end of February this year, this Dr. Albert Metz, he responded to that with a supplemental report continuing to argue his case. Now that, Ripple is pushing, and I already reported on this, so I'm trying to be brief with this, but just get everybody caught up to speed here. Ripple says, no, you shouldn't be able to submit that, and we'll see what the judge says on that topic, but the SEC is responding to Ripple's comment saying, hey, we don't want this to be admitted. So this is the SEC asking for 2 days so that they can argue as to why Dr. Albert Metz's supplemental report about XRP following developments with Ripple should be admitted. That's what this is here. Now, on that front, there is an individual from the community, Dr. Joseph Pekarik, who went to Harvard, among others, and he thinks that this is complete BS. Take a look at this. Here's what he had to say. Dr. Joseph Pekarik had to say about XRP price following developments of Ripple. He wrote, the degree of significance in terms of the correlation between the price of XRP and the announcements made by Ripple is so small that it can be explained in any number of ways, including simple measurement error. The expert's analysis is statistically and methodologically flawed. Yeah, and look, I will tell you this. again, having been in the space for over 4 years and in real time, seeing all the positive developments and all the great news from Ripple for 4 years, and then seeing the price every single one of these times, because I'm checking all this stuff pretty much every day, I know that what this guy is arguing is just not true. That XRP price follows developments of Ripple. I know it's not true, because I've been in the damn space for over 4 years. So the fact that he's some sort of 100-plus page paper arguing that he is, it has to be flawed, or he's just outright lying. That's the only option. So Attorney John Deaton saw that and responded to Dr. Joseph Pekarik and wrote, I'm expecting a Daubert challenge on at least two SEC's experts, Metz being one of them. For those that don't know, a Daubert challenge is when you ask the court for a hearing because you want the court to strike the other side's expert opinion because it's scientifically unreliable. So there we go. This Dr. Metz is arguing that it is scientifically reliable, and you know that the side of Ripple is going to argue that it's not. And there are already individuals that have argued that and said no.
So enjoy your day, everybody. I'm always here for you. Leave any comments or questions below, and be sure to subscribe. But thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. Enjoy your day, and I always have your back. So thanks so much, everybody.